So this video is a really important one. We discuss the 1-3-5-7 method. So when you have a chord progression in front of you and you want to improvise over these chord changes, what's the first thing you do, and how can you get to a basic level of being able to successfully navigate your way through this progression, playing all the right notes and kind of knowing what the chords do and the best notes to play. We basically start with the roots, which is the one part of this. So we're going to play the progression through and we're just going to play the roots. Okay, when I say the roots, I mean the one of the chord. So if it's A minor 7, we play the A. Okay, so I'm going to use a chord progression here and we're going to play it through. So this is the concert pitch one, but I'm obviously going to be reading from the E flat PDF. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to play the root note on beat 1 of the bar. Okay, here we go. 2, 3. Nice and easy. Okay, so you've got to count through. You're following the chord progression with your eyes. In this example, there are a couple of bars where there's 2 chords per bar. So obviously you'd have to play one chord for only 2 beats and then the next chord. So you're having to follow through metronomically with the chords. Okay. Now I was playing the root note on beat 1 of each bar, or where the chord changes. Obviously the next stage is to stay with just the one but mix up the rhythm a little bit, improvise using the using rhythm but still only on the one note. Super important this, that you sort of push yourself. Don't try and get lost, but push yourself with the rhythm, always trying to keep time so you know exactly where each chord is, but not necessarily playing the moment it changes. I'll demonstrate. 1, 2, 3. Okay, obviously the rhythms that I'm playing are within the groove of the piece. That's another important thing. Don't just play any old blah, 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 blah. You got to stay within the groove. Okay, right, so that's sort of step 1, play the roots, and then the secondary part of that is mix up the rhythm. Stage 2 is to play the roots and the thirds. Okay, so if you need to spend time working out what the thirds are, go through it, write them down if necessary, do that. Okay, if you can do it without writing it down, great, but I don't want you to get flustered. So we're going to improvise now just using the firsts and thirds of each chord. 2, 3, 4. have fun with that. Don't just move on to the next one just because you've successfully done it. Try it a few times, mix up the rhythms. Again, push yourself rhythmically, keeping to the beat. If you get lost, listen to the chords, see if you can get back on track. If not, start again, have another go. Do it until you're completely comfortable with how you're moving through and the notes that you're playing are correct. Okay? Again, mixing up the rhythms. Step 3, roots, thirds and fifths. You don't have to play all 3, but they're there as an option. Okay? 2, 3. Obviously, the more notes you have at your disposal, the more you can vary it. So with that one, try and find ways where you're not always playing the first. Maybe if you're playing 1, 3, 5, the next one, start on one of the 3 notes available to you that's close to that note maybe. Experiment coming down the arpeggios as well, not just always going 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5, 5, 3, 1, or 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, or whatever. Experiment with that one. Obviously, the more notes you have, the more you can do with it. So don't just move on. Stay with that one. Practice loads, around and round and round. Come up with lots of different ideas. For now, we're going to move on to stage 4, using the 1, 3, 5 and 7. Again, not always am I playing all 4. They're just there if I want to. So here we go. Stage 4, using the 1, 3, 5 and 7. Okay, so you might think, oh, that didn't sound too different from the one before. That's because, I may not have used the 7th with every chord. But it's there as another option. You'll find now that there are sort of lines through now that make sense to you in terms of if you're on one note, when the chord changes, you don't want to leap up to another one. You want to stay roughly where you are. I'll try and demonstrate that in my next go through, but I cover this in the guide tones video, which you may want to have a look at. But just use your ears now to see if you can hear that I'm maybe staying on the same note or going just near to it on the next chord. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that time it was sort of more sticking on the same kind of level. Don't have to do that, but that's an option. So this method, the 1-3-5-7 method, you can spend hours and hours and hours, days and days and days, weeks and months practicing this so that you become completely confident with when the chords change and what notes to play, how they differ, and basically play successfully over chord changes.